Hello, everyone. I'm Chetan Garg, the Managing Director for Allstate in India. Allstate is a large insurance company in the US and Canada across auto and home. We've got 2 offices in Bangalore and Pune in India, and look forward to being Sutadhar for these few sessions going forward.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anita George. I head a tech startup called Celonis in India. And Celonis is a process mining startup, and we are headquartered in Munich and New York. Happy to be here today, and welcome to the sessions.
Great. So we now have this session for founders, right? Yeah. And, I don't know about you, Anita, but I wish I was back 30 years ago in this environment where there is amazing, data. The volumes of data is like amazing, right? And we can do wonders with it, I think. Yeah. Connectivity, with 5G on the horizon and speed of light virtually. Yeah. And technology and the way it's kind of moving forward. I really wish I was in this starting or at the early stage of my career and looking at how founders and startups are taking things forward. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, absolutely. I've worked, with a large tech company for a very long time, and then joined a startup recently. And I wish, these opportunities, so many opportunities were there when I had started out. The kind of freedom that we have, the information that we have, and overall the access that we have to global resources is amazing. And we never had that starting up. Even having an internet connection was a luxury.
Absolutely. Well, so somewhere you are ahead. You have a startup now, a year young, or you've been there for a year now.
Yes.
So you're kind of on your second phase of your career, starting with a large company and then moving to a startup. That's pretty interesting.
Yes. And I think it has been a huge learning for me, building this operation brick by brick in India. And, right from, whatever registrations that we need to do to ensuring that we are compliant. So we're looking at all of that. And yes, I do wish sometimes that, it was a lot more easier and streamlined. But we're getting there. I think, the access to information today and having everything online, makes it so much easier. So, for instance, we have our, global 2 of the directors working, one out of Munich and one out of New York, and they attend all the, meetings virtually.
Wow.
And that works. And, even in terms of signatures, having signatures online documents.
Yeah, great. My current org is my 3rd startup, but nowhere near what these new age companies are doing. Again, and today, like you said, with data, it's a different world. So let's move across to the session itself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I'll give a quick round of introductions to both Ravi and Sunil, and I think I would love for them to give introductions to what their company does. So, Sunil is the founder and CEO of BlueSemi. They have recently unveiled the world's first health tech gadget, Ava, that can measure 6 key vitals of your body, including non-invasive blood glucose in 60 seconds, just by a touch. He carries a vision to enhance the quality of life through choice to positively impact billions of lives with Ava. He has a unique background of 9 years in entrepreneurship, technology, strategic planning, and business expansions in multi-million-dollar markets. He's an advisor and mentor at a few idea stage startups and PG in research from IIIT Hyderabad. Ravi here, he's a 2-time entrepreneur. This is his 2nd venture. He's got a successful exit in the first one. He comes with 20 years of diverse experience working with large corporates and startups in North America, APAC, Europe, and Australia. He has a fantastic track record in global leadership roles, demonstrated strengths in building high-performance teams, partnering with product teams to drive growth, and leveraging technology to drive business results. Successful leaders with depth in IT, professional services, corporate development, operations, and HR. So I think we will have both Ravi and Sunil give a quick introduction, and then we'll dive into how they've built these successful businesses today. Both companies are about 4.5 to 5 years successfully running today. So can I have Ravi, you can introduce yourself with your company's background, and then I can get into some of the questions.
Yeah, thanks, Radhika. Thanks for the opportunity today. So, our organization is Oorwin. Oorwin is a AI-enabled platform which provides a CRM, ATS, and HR. So we are in North America, Singapore, APAC at this point of time. So we provide an end-to-end solution for small and medium enterprise, and as well as we are into larger enterprise, this year. So it provides an end-to-end solution right from CRM to offboarding of the employee. And there are a lot of AI that we have introduced, just to enable all the end users in terms of how effectively and how productively that they can, manage their day-to-day operations. I come up with 20 years of experience working in almost, all aspects of the product development, and last 13 years I've been into startups.
That's fantastic. So I think he will dive into a little bit more to share that, how are they different from some of the tools probably you're familiar with. He has more than 1,000 customers today across the globe. So I think we can have some introduction to your product, Sunil. It's very exciting to hear you've built something exceptional.
Thank you, Radhika. Hello, everyone. This is Sunil. I'm the founder and CEO of BlueSemi. As Radhika has rightly mentioned, we have built world's one and only first health tech gadget that gives 6 key vitals, including blood glucose and HbA1c, just by touching it. So we wanted to make sure health and wellness, just like Instagram and WhatsApp, for people where you are very much aware of what's happening in your body, when you are eating, when you are working out, when you are sleeping, what happens if you sleep at 9 o'clock, what happens if you sleep at 12 o'clock in the night. Apart from that, the device also helps people with chronic illness to easily monitor their vitals on a continuous basis. And IVA comes with also 4 profiles. So we built IVA in such a form factor where it can be used by families, but not just individuals.
So that's fantastic to hear that, Sunil, and in a very short span, his commendable journey. I think we today, Hyderabad is not just like previously it used to be Bangalore for hubs for startups. Now Hyderabad has become the forerunner for a lot of startups. I just wanted to get your perspective on what are the key pillars, or what are the elements that make to build a successful business, and how do you sustain growth and continuously grow? Can I get some thoughts from you, Ravi, on how you've done this?
Yes. So there are 3 aspects that we need to look at. Assume that you wanted to start a company, or if you want to start a product. The first thing is what problem you are solving for the customer. Right now, you identify the problem statement and how effectively you wanted to solve that problem. That's the first and foremost. The second one is your team and the culture that you wanted to build with your organization. That is also extremely important. Though you identify a problem statement, if you don't have a right team and right culture that you inculcate in your organization, it cannot survive. The third part is how effectively that you can scale. If you look at many of the startups 6-7 years back, they started really good. At some point of time, they get stagnated. They really don't have a path in terms of where they wanted to go, where they wanted to take a step. So they need to have a very strong vision in place when they start any organization, and that vision has to be diffused to the entire team. Your entire team should understand the vision, and they should be part of the journey. Unless you don't have your team part of the journey, it would be someone who would be every day slogging around. Okay, this is what we wanted to do. This is what we wanted to do. So in my opinion, these are 3 pillars to start your organization and take it to the next level. Your problem statement, the team that you have, and the culture that you want to inculcate in your organization, and how you want it to scale. At what time you are ready to scale.
What about your thoughts here?
Yeah, so actually, I feel there are many pillars for a success, but since you asked for key pillars, I'll talk about the 3, as Ravi has already covered some of it. So I'll put the team as number 1 pillar, the product as the number 2 pillar, customers as the number 3 pillar, investors and advisors comes later. Coming to the team, as Ravi has rightly mentioned, they have to absolutely align and carry that vision along with you. So that's why many of the people say in startups, the top 50 people are most important people that you should have. You can't hire them randomly. Either you are following your vision or not, the team should be aligned to it and they should be able to carry forward. Right now I'm here and I literally know what each and every one of my team members are doing. I didn't put any trackers on them, but just, just the vision that lets them carry it without me they being there always on the field. Second thing is a product that we are going to build. Gone are the days where your product comes with a serious user manual and you need to have a PhD to understand it. It can't work that way anymore. The number one thing with your product is the first emotion that you have to trigger in your client is love for it. They should love it the moment they see it. And it should be so, the user experience comes into picture there, where we have different teams just to work on whether the switch should be here or the other side, just to understand how a user behaves around it. The third thing is clients. Being a startup, sometimes your client is very forgiving, but you can't take it for granted. You need to make sure you are emotionally connected. You can't outsource that to someone else and ask them to engage with the customer, because apart from your team, it's also your customer who carries that vision into the market. So you need to take care of these three aspects seriously.
Thanks for the views. I think that's excellent. It's very true, especially today, a lot of businesses are built around direct to customers. So it becomes very important that, you're focusing on your end customers and, putting in the design thinking into place, and you're looking at the consequences of a poor quality or a poor customer experience. So this is good to hear. And I think we'll move to the next topic is around what are the major challenges you faced, Sunil, in the last 5 years? Maybe you can touch upon 3 challenges, and so that if there are any entrepreneurs in this room, they can also look at avoiding these things, or how do you tackle these challenges?
Sure. Thanks, Radhika. Thanks for asking another right question. So again, even here, I'll say team as a first thing. As these first 50 people are important, we spent anywhere between 3 months to 1 year in just hiring one person. That's the kind of care we took in having this team member who are core to our team. And that was a most challenging part for us, because being a startup, when your product is even before out in the market, before you have your full funding in place, there comes the economical impact on them where they have options to choose. But here, the one exciting thing that for these people is your vision and how much they are aligned to it. Then all the other factors around it just disappear for them. They'll be fine to have it later, but they can't miss out now. You need to trigger the FOMO in people. If they can't join this wagon now, they'll miss out forever. That is the first thing. Second thing is obviously the fund. India has quick capital available everywhere, but doesn't have patience capital. That is, which is pretty rare. US invests in space technology to mine a asteroid, which is a heavy patience capital. But in India, the moment you talk, that's a physical product, then everything, people get a little scared. So that was another bigger roadblock we had that we had to overcome by meeting the right set of people who have the similar mindset. Third thing is, obviously, when you are building a product, it's not just you who builds a product. There are different entities that are working with you as a third party, and majority of the times they will not be aligned. For them, building hardware means make a rectangular box and send it out. So we literally tested 20 companies plus in each vertical to understand who aligns to our vision of design thinking. So these 3 were the biggest challenges we faced in the last 3 years after we have our technology ready.
Excellent. That's good to hear. And What about you having to build this company
Yeah.
between India and the US?
Right. So I completely agree with what Sunil was mentioning. Team is the most important factor, whether, trying to build a company on the services side. The team is extremely, extremely important. That is one of my motto. Team first is the approach that I typically take whenever we wanted to take an initiative. It is not about the idea, it is not about the money, it is all about the team that you wanted to be with. So there is a gossip that runs around on the floor that I spend more time with my team than with my wife. So, and another one is, most important factor when I moved to India from US, I was talking to a lot of young entrepreneurs in terms of understanding how that whole thought process is here. When we talk to the early stage startups in San Francisco, their thought process is completely different, and how the thought process young entrepreneurs in India, people were more focused about, where I get funding? What should I do to get the funding? How much funding that I get? What kind of technologies that I can get funding? These were the whole mindset 4 or 5 years back. But if you look at the whole scenario in last 2 years, people were more obsessive about solving problems. If you are solving a right problem in a right way, you have everything comes in your way, right? So you need to be absolutely obsessive about the problem and how you are solving. That is very, very important. And the next point is, when you are facing the customer, there are two factors that every organization needs to consider. One is customer service, and another one is customer experience, right? So these are two very important factors that we need to consider, right from the day one. One is, if you are talking about the customer service, it is more of a reactive action that you take. That means your customer comes up with a problem or some issue with whatever service or product that you are providing to them, and you try to solve that problem for them. The second one is a customer experience, which is very, very important. It is a proactive approach. That means you take certain actions in such a way that your customer should have that experience. They really don't need to. So these are different factors that we need to consider. And from last 3-4 years, most of these factors are inclined to it. In terms of what kind of tools that we need to put in place, what kind of data that can be collected, and how this data can be used in terms of increasing that efficiency and productivity of it. And as you said, funding is extremely, extremely important. Without survival, you cannot, thrive. Don't even think, right? And other factor is identifying the right time to scale yourself. Just because you have 100 customers, just because you had hit, a 2 million revenue, that is not the right time for you to plan for scaling and increasing your resources. But you need to identify whether I am ready, the market has accepted me or not. Is it a right idea, or is it the right time to take the entire organization to the next level? You need to very properly plan in terms of when you need to scale yourself. Just don't go by the numbers just because I have 2 million revenue a year, or somebody is ready to give you millions for funding. Just don't go there. It would be a suicidal many a times. Yeah. Okay. So these are some of the things that we experienced, over a period of time.
Thanks, Ravi. I think he made a very interesting statement earlier also, saying that focus on creating value and not valuation alone, right? So I think that is super critical, especially for startup culture and people that read a lot of news articles and think that, it's all about valuations and fundraising. So I think even the previous panel was very focused on, no matter what the topic is, end of the day, we are all looking at getting the right talent in place and retaining this talent. So being a startup, it becomes twice as challenging or 10 times as challenging to ensure, like you said, you spend months together to hire a resource, and it won't take more than a moment for them to decide to resign. So what is it that you guys are doing differently or unique maybe, to ensure that, one is the culture, right? Because I think that is what helps a lot of the people stay. And how are you attracting talent? Because, earlier startups were considered more like an experience ground. I will learn a lot more and it'll accelerate my growth. It's better to spend 2 years working for a startup than going for a business school, right? So these were the kind of thoughts people had. However, now with some of these unicorns that are coming the way they are, and even after 15 years, people call themselves startups, and having raised hundreds of millions of dollars, it just becomes very hard to attract talent. So what is it that you guys are doing in order to attract talent?
Actually, a lot of people differentiate vision and culture separately. But in my opinion, both are interlinked, and for that matter, it's the same for me. So, and since thanks to the lot of corporates in India and the job market, people are able to get much higher paying jobs outside. So their priorities have changed. It's not just getting a job that can pay them well, but can they carry their own vision if they join that firm? That is the most important thing that has come into picture. Particularly after COVID, we started observing this a lot. So the time that we take for those 3 months, actually, we don't look at 100 people. There will be 2-3 people only. But we see if they have that vision continued for that entire time, or is it just a keyword that they use to just get into a job? Here it's not about we will miss on the talent. If someone is not having that patience on that vision for that long, they are never right for you already. So these 3 months, we make sure we test their patience. We make sure that we test their vision, how much they are able to carry. I'm very proud to say, a lot of the team worked on our projects even before we hired them. One guy we kind of rejected for different reasons, but he built our app just by looking at our website screens, then came back to us and said, hey, you know what, I built it better. Just look at it, I don't want anything. I had no option but to hire that guy. So we were very fortunate that we are able to put that vision properly out in the market through every channel. We as a founder, you have to speak your heart out about where your company, where your product is gonna take them. When the one thing that I sell is, if you work on this product now, sometime right after a year, someone in your family comes to you and say, or some of your relatives comes to you and say, hey, there's a product called IVA out in the market. Did you check it? Then this guy has to say, I built it. That's a vision we actually sell to our team. Maybe as a founder, you have to pitch yourself even to your team, and they should accept it.
I think I completely resonate with that. I think many times sales happen without understanding the vision. They just, like, a parrot probably speak out, but they don't convey exactly what the customer wants to hear or understand, explain the problem statement. So this is very nice to hear from you, and that you spend so much time on the recruitment. I think it is much required in today's day. And how are you doing this second time around with your startup here?
There is no magic. It's all about the culture that you build in the organization. Culture is like a UX to your product, right? If you have a better UX and people feel comfortable to start using it, it's the same thing for any organization. You need to create a culture in such a way that everyone should start feeling that belongingness in the organization. So I'll give an example. When COVID hit us, we were in a startup mode. There were dip in sales. Entire market is in a speculative mode, whether we should spend money or not. We were clueless for 2-3 months. It is very important as a leader, what you speak and what you execute, right? You should always be in a mode that all the ears and eyes of your employees are looking at you every moment, right? So we were in a very speculative mode at the time. What should we do? Our capitals were, high at the time where we were planning to spend a lot of money in terms of hiring and scaling a lot of things. So the first discussion that we had is, do we really need to scale down the existing, employees? No, we ruled out. We really don't want to do that, right? Next one is, do we really need to reduce the salaries of the employees, because that is what happening all over India, where the salaries were reduced. Even that was happening globally, 20%, 30%, reduction in salaries, and the employees also don't have an option at that point of time because they have to agree, they don't have any options in the market at the time. Then fortunately we decided, okay, we are not going to fire not even one single employee in the organization. And we are not going to reduce anyone's salary. In fact, we have given certain increments to some of the employees, matching to the market. So we had a really tough time for 5-6 months. And after that, fortunately, everyone grouped up and they helped us in terms of raising everything, in terms of building up the new features, which can be new revenue avenues for the product. So that kind of culture is very, very important in terms of, belongingness for the employees. Okay, my leader is there for me at any point of time, and these guys can help us out in terms of taking us to the next level. So it is very, very important. There are 3 aspects that we need to consider whenever you are building up a culture or, starting a company or a product. First one is what impact it would give you as an individual. That is very, very important. Until and unless you don't have an impact as a leader, and what is that you are gaining out of it, you cannot actually propagate that vision to the next level. Next one is what impact that you are creating to your employees, what kind of wealth that you are generating for them. Wealth in terms of the monetary benefits, wealth in terms of their professional growth, and the wealth in terms of their well-being, that needs to be propagated. This third one being what impact that we are getting to the organization. How you are actually creating that impact to your customers, right? What kind of experience that you are giving to your customer. If you have all these 3 right, people will just come to you, right? You really don't need to go into the market and try to search and, do whatever to attract them. And culture is, your idea can be snatched, your employees can be snatched, but culture is something that cannot be snatched, right? So these are the 3 aspects that we typically look at, Radhika.
Excellent points, both Sunil and Ravi. I think this is super critical. I also feel that, for startups, it's a little easier to build the culture from day one because, you're starting small. So it's possible to propagate the vision, communicate transparency in the system and, with the goals and all that. So this is great. I think we are in the final lag of the section of the questions. I think today we are talking a lot about data and analytics. I would like to understand from both of you how you use data today in terms of your, customer engagement. How do you improvise that, and do you use that to improve your product and all? And what is the kind of impact you've seen? Maybe with some examples and how you've seen.
So when we talk of data and people, I'd like to talk 2 aspects of data. One is data security. Second one is data analytics. When it comes to data security, though being a startup, there will be a lot of health data that comes into picture. And this is a power that is given to us, so we have to act more responsible with it.
Exactly.
So even from day one, we wanted, though being a startup where people let us make mistakes, we wanted to make sure the data that is circulating between the device to the application from an end consumer is extremely secured, for that matter, where we wanted to build that confidence for our audience that we don't use it for random other purposes at a later point of time. So that's one assurance that we started building from day one. Second thing is the analytics. The more the data we keep collecting, actually it will help us in curating the product much better for our end user. I'd like to give a simple example. We built another product during COVID time, which was installed with 300 clients across India. We worked in extreme situations at that time. So when our app was working with our device right beside, which a security personnel has to use it. So he had to click 8 times to get each customer scanned and go through. So once we had the data, we had to see there are around 5,000 people footfall on a daily basis, and it's 40,000 clicks, which is easily susceptible to human errors, which is a security person who won't go through it and he will just send them in. So when we looked at the data, what we did is we wanted to automate that entire thing to one single click for those entire 5,000 scans. The security person just click once and stand aside, and the entire system is automated for any number of people that walk through the door. So that way, data analytics will help you in curating this product for a win-win customer experience, both for the customer, the user, and you as a company.
Fantastic, Sunil. Ravi, what are your views on data?
Yeah, so it's a vast concept. I'll just talk about a couple of instances and how data can be utilized and how data should not be utilized as well, right? So being an AI, rich portal, we handle a lot of data on everyday basis. How effectively we use, what are the possibilities of, what are the possibilities available using this data. So while building up our own algorithms, while using this data, we set up an ethical platform in terms of how ethically we can use the data. Certain things which the data cannot solve the problems for you. I'll give you an example, what I mentioned. When you are a customer facing, there are two things. One is customer experience and the other one is customer service, right? There was one instance that I was reading last week. There is a fashion apparel shop in US, Amsterdam. There is an incident that happened there, in terms of understanding how the customer experience, be, trained in their employees. One of these customer went into that shop with a car tire, and he wants to return that car tire to them. They don't sell the car tires, right? It's a fashion apparel. He said, like, I bought this tire yesterday. So the executive told, no, we don't sell car tires here. No. So I bought this yesterday. I remember this is the shop, that I bought this and I want to return. Okay. So the executive took the tire and given him a voucher and send him off. Right? And he thrown that tire into trash out there. Right? That is the experience that was created to the other side of it. He might be, he might be in a boozing mode. Once he comes out of it, the kind of experience that he got with Nostradam at that point of time would remain the same. And when we look at the numbers part of it, now we are talking about customer service. Typically, what we look at is how quickly you responded, how many calls that you got, how many of them are resolved, what were the analytics that you built of it. All of this comes with a customer service that you are providing. But when it comes to this customer experience, it is an intangible thing, right? It is something that you need to, train your employees in human terms, right? This is not something that can be achieved by your AI. This is not something that can be achieved with your numbers, no analytics, no insights, nothing. It's a pure human element, okay? So one is, how effectively that you can use your data. That is also very, very important. When we talk about a customer service, you need to understand you cannot use the same blanket umbrella for every type of customers that you are servicing. The way that you communicate, the way that you service to the customers in Asia might not work the way that you are doing for a North American customers.
Absolutely.
But how effectively you do that, all your data points, all your insights would help you out.
Yes.
And where exactly data cannot help and where your human intervention is needed is more of a customer experience.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So that's my call on the data.
Thanks a lot, Ravi and Sunil. I think it was very interesting to have both of you on this panel. Really enjoyed our conversations. Thanks a lot, NASSCOM, for
that note. It's interesting. There is no playbook for startups, but we got some good insights here. I think they talked about how talent and people is probably the most important thing that they focus on, and a few others.
Yeah, and my key learning was that, it's not just about customer service, but customer experience, and that's what wins over customers. And another interesting thing that Ravi brought up was that, find the right problem to solve, and the funding will come in.
Absolutely.
I think that's important.
Yep, and I was just really curious about how much time they take to hire people.
Yeah.
I mean, they quote the people virtually, and their candidates do work for them pro bono and show their passion before they get hired. It is interesting. It's not the way most large companies hire in the volume hiring, but startups seem to have a very different approach.
Yes, I agree. And, this approach of getting an employee to actually work on your platform before you hire them, it really gets them more engaged.
Yeah.
And we like to hire people who are really excited to work with the company.
Yeah, so culture and passion came out very, very heavily, right?
Yes.
And as they were saying, you can steal the people, you can steal the idea, but you can't steal the culture. Very true.
Absolutely.
Great. They also talk a lot about employee overall growth, monetary, health and well-being, professional development, and the attention they pay to that. So again, some very interesting takeaways that all of us can learn from.
Absolutely. And I trust all of you learned as much as we did from this session.
Just the last other one was data and the appropriate use of data and not using data at certain times. Again, very good session. See you again.